Important thing on irelia is a passive, so damaging enemies with abilities is going to give you stacks of your passive. Every stack is going to give you bonus attack speed, and then at maximum stacks then you're also going to deal bonus magic damage, and that's on hit of course. So if you manage to stack that passive up in fights, then you're pretty much going to stat check people, so you just auto win it. So what I like to do in the lane is that I let people push, so I can look for an all-in level 2 with a fully stacked passive, and then that E as well, which is a stun if you hit it. I just want to stack your passive up on the minions and then just look for an all-in, like I'm doing right here, and that's pretty much a free kill. This is why irelia mid is so strong, is that because she has much higher kill potential. First of all, you are able to take ignite, and the opponent is also a squishy champion most of the time, so she has much higher snowball potential in the mid lane. So when you use your E, guys, the easiest way or the fastest way to use it is by placing the first part of your E behind the enemy champion and then the second part closer to irelia. Doing that is going to speed up the process by a lot, so it makes it harder for them to dodge it. Also, another important thing is that if you stun someone with your E, or if you hit them with your ultimate, then there will be a mark on them, and that basically means that if you Q to someone who has a mark on them, then your Q is going to reset. So you can basically reset your Q by killing something with it, or if you dash to someone who has a mark on them. Your W is a physical damage reduction, so obviously irelia is very good into AD mid laners. But you don't always have to use it for the damage reduction. What I like to do a lot of the times is that I fully charge that W and then I try to hit the backline minions so they are low enough HP for my Q to one-shot them, so that way you can stack that passive up really fast and possibly turn losing trades around. Also, when you push waves, Q is really useful, and of course remember that it heals you and it applies on hit, guys, so it's going to deal a lot of damage. In my first phase I went for a Dorn and Sword, and that is because we are against the assassin mid, so bonus tanky stats is really useful early on, and then the second base we get the Vamp Scepter for even more sustain. So we have Ramnus Hunter and we have Vamp Scepter, so that's a lot of sustain. So the thing you have to watch out for when playing irelia is that you don't want to be constantly shoving the way, because that really lowers your kill potential. If the enemy is under the tower, then what can you even do as a melee champ? They'll just be getting free farm, so best way to punish them is by letting them push. But if you are super fed, then you can also tower dive people at some point in the game, so that is also possible, but most of the time you just let them push and then you try to keep the minions low HP so you can stack up that passive really fast with a Q, and then you look for all-ins. That was a really good E, but of course Zed can dodge our stun with this W. The thing is, we have a lot more sustain though. We have Ramnus Hunter, we have the Vamp Scepter as well, and a Q also heals us, so at this point you can go for awful trades and then just heal back up. There are pretty much no mid laners who can match your early game DPS with a stack passive, so irelia mid lane is really strong, guys. We took out his W, so now we can look for an all-in if we want to. Also, of course, corrupting potion start is really good because you'll be spamming your Q, so you will end up with very low mana, so that is good for the sustain. Some people like to start with the Dorn and Sword, the one on Irelia, but for me personally, corrupting potion works a lot better because you have that extra sustain and the mana regen as well. On the level 6 Irelia, you have your best all-in tool pretty much. And of course that also applies marks onto all enemy champions you hit, so if you manage to hit a lot of people in fights, then you suddenly become really mobile. And then you can use your EE again to reset your Q once more. So the skill part on Irelia is being able to hit that E and that ultimate. Because hitting E can be really difficult, especially if the opponent knows how it works. Just try to make sure that you use the first part of E behind the enemy champion and then the second one closer to Irelia. He's really lucky that I was out of mana right here, otherwise he would have died. Okay, we can just go ahead and back off. So we're against an AD assassin mid and an AD jungler, so armor boots are really good here. On top of giving damage reduction on auto attacks and the armor, you also get more mobility, right? So it's harder to gank you, harder to escape you as well, and harder to hit you with skill shots. So getting boots early on can be really good. And if you're playing against the mage mid, then you can also go for the mercs, depends on what you need. If they have a lot of CC, then mercs are fine. So of course, Irelia spikes early game. Level 2 is a really strong spike because you have a CC and you can have a fully stacked passive. Otherwise, level 6 is a good spike, and then once you finish Blade of the Ruined King, there's also another spike. So she has a lot of small power spikes in the early game. Just have to know how to play around them to fully utilize this champion. So our goal is to hit that E and then we can look for all in. So he used this W right here, so that means he is very okay, we have a comment coming in. Very risky for him to do anything right now. So we got his flash out, so that's great. Unfortunately I missed that E. That is going to happen a lot when you play Irelia, because that can be very difficult to land. Look for an all-in. Oh, he is using his ultimate, okay. Got his ignite, ultimate and flash out, so that's really good. And the thing is, we have a lot of sustain and he doesn't have anything, so he can easily heal back up to full HP from one minion wave. Zed is staying lane here, so he's really taking a big risk because we can look for an all-in, because he also used his W. There we go. That was pretty free right there, so now we can base and then we can get the other component towards the Blade of the Ruined King. He's going to stop our base right here, I'm pretty sure, yeah. It's a bit annoying, doesn't really matter that much though, because it's a cannon minion wave. When the cannon minion wave walks into lane, guys, that's the best time to base, because if the opponent tries to shove it in, then that one cannon minion will be tanking a lot of hits from the tower, right? So it gives you more time to get back into lane and possibly even catch that cannon minion as well. Armor is safe, so you can just hit back mid. So we also have a flash and ignite up, and Zed doesn't really have anything, so that's another opportunity for a free kill. We just need to land that E. Oh, that was pretty bad. That's a bit too fast. Of course, you can extend that range of your E with your Q. This is also something you can do. You don't always have to play around the Q reset. If you have a fully stacked passive, then you can just Q on top of the enemy champion if you know that they can't really dash away from you, and then you can just auto attack them to death. And this is where Irelia gets really oppressive when she has the lead, because even if you miss everything, then you can just auto people and still win the trades. See, this is something that most other champions can't really do. Those easy 1 versus 2s don't even have to play perfectly. You have that stack passive up, you have XP and gold lead, you just easily win those 1 versus 2s, even if you miss that E or your ultimate. Blades, and once we base, we also have the Blade to Rune King, so that is a big power spike. It has really great synergy with Irelia overall because she's very reliant on attack speed. And her Q also procs on hit, so everything that Blade of the Rune King offers in the passive will be procced with your Q. So I got the Blade of the Rune King here, and then we can start building towards the new item that's being built by pro players and high elo Irelia players. That is the 80 carry items. Basically have Kraken Slayer, that is also possible if you're playing against a tanky comp. That gives you that hyper carry scaling. And then you have the shield bow, which is the one I'll be going for this game. It basically gives you the healing passive, a lot of sustain, and a lot of damage as well, so you become kind of a drain tank even though you are playing full offensive already. Makes you very tanky and also gives you a crazy amount of lifesteal, so you can pretty much not lose the lane from here. But the thing is, a lot of mythic items are viable on Irelia, so you can even go for a Trinity Force, which is the normal go-to mythic item on Irelia. We also have the Gold Drinker. If you want to play a more tanky style of Irelia, we also have the Divine Mythic, also another good anti-tank mythic. Telling my bot lane to go mid here, because in the mid game, close to the mid game, you want to be in the side lane, because that is where you are strongest. You're very good in 1 versus 1s. And you can easily pick up kills on squishes like on this Samira right here. Go for Thresh here as well if he tries to fight us. You want. You can look for a dive here if the rest of our team comes. So Olaf is coming, so we're just gonna keep Thresh here, have Ignite up if needed, and our mid lane, bot laners are keeping sit down. Have to block out this wave here, guys. Look for the dive easily as well here. Didn't want to tank it though. I think he went in a bit too early. He should just have waited for the minion wave, then we didn't have to risk it, but it did turn out in our favor, so that's great. So now we just gotta focus down the towers here and then possibly look for kill on Samira as well. It's very easy to dive, especially when you're playing Irelia, who can just auto attack people to death as soon as she has that passive stacked up. But look at the healing we have right now, and that is not even all of it. As soon as we get the shield bow, then it's going to get even more crazy. The shield bow is very good when you play against mages, assassins and so on, because it also gives you that defensive stat in that shield you're getting, so it denies a lot of burst damage. But if you're playing against bruisers and tanks, then Kraken Slayer is probably the best choice. So now our sustain is absolutely crazy. Even though they buy grievous wounds or something, it doesn't really matter. At this point, it is impossible to lose the lane if you hit this 2-item power spike. No one can match your healing. and your DPS at the same time here. We can look for a kill and trace. We just have to reset the queue of the minions. Yeah, sometimes you get those lucky crits from the shield bow. Nice, we can just keep pushing here. Normally side lane is where you want to be on Irelia. I had to flash out here because I'm taking almost a bit too much burst damage. I would actually survive that pretty easily though, because my shield bow passive didn't even proc. So we had that shield active as well. We can look for a dive here if Rakan goes in. He didn't go in, unfortunately. He was not prepared for that. It's fine though. I have a massive gold bounty that I don't want to give away for free. Watch out for Samira. We can easily fight this though if they come. Oh, that's a problem right here though, is sometimes you can misclick that Q, because right here I intended to reset it off the minion, but I accidentally clicked on the champion, right? So that does happen sometimes. You have to be really accurate with those Q movements. Or attack people to death. He's one of the hardest snowballing mid laners in the game right now, so that's why Irelia is very popular in high elo. But at the same time, it's very difficult champion to master, one of the most difficult mechanical champions you can play, so it is not a champion you will be successful with after 10 games. You need to put in a lot of games. Need to push down mid tower as well because we don't have minions yet. Check the inhibitor. And look at that sustain we have. We healed up so much just from one minion. Three-man ultimate. This is what happens, guys, if you hit multiple people with that ultimate, you become super mobile. That was the Irelia guide, so of course I hope this was helpful. As always, see you guys in the next one.